how's your day going? I know we're right before lunch, so hopefully you guys can hold in there for another 20 minutes. Welcome to Experience Builder. It's coming. Are you ready? The first big question we need to answer is, who am I? I'm Einecker. I'm founder and principal at True Summit, which if you haven't heard of, that's fine, because it's just me, myself, and I. Doing the freelance independent contracting thing for about the last year and a half. Before that, I was agency life for about 10 years. And that is my dog, Nora, in the picture. I had to leave her at home, but do not worry, she is being spoiled like a princess by her dog sitter. So, on to the actual questions. For you guys, how many people here knew about Experience Builder before today? Most people. How many people learned about Experience Builder today? A couple of people. How many people have no idea what Experience Builder is at all? 1, 2. All right. Awesome. So we'll be able to answer some of those questions. There's a bit of an assumption about knowing what Experience Builder is baked in, but we can do some explanations. How many people are excited about Experience Builder? Not nearly enough people. Everybody should be excited about Experience Builder. It is going to be awesome. All right, first big question. Can you use Experience Builder now? No, with an asterisk, because there's always an asterisk. Experience Builder is being developed in the open, and there is currently a 0.3.0 alpha, which is available for preview, but it is very much an alpha. So you can try it out, but you are going to experience breakages, and if you try to build anything upon it, you will run into issues because they're still making breaking changes to the code base. So I would recommend not putting it on a production site, but if you want to try it out on your local or just kind of see what's there, you can definitely do that. When can you use Experience Builder? So before we answer that, I think it's worth going through the timeline of Experience Builder because it has been crazy, especially for the Drupal community. It has been moving very, very fast. So just over a year ago was DrupalCon Portland, and that is where Dries announced Starshot and Experience Builder, and it was just really a twinkle in his eye, right? There was no work being done, there was no plan, it was just, let's do these things, and let's start now. And then the Experience Builder team got formed, they started working on things, we kind of got an idea of what needed to happen, and by September they had their first alpha release, which is crazy. 4 months later, we went from nothing to first alpha. They had their next alpha release in February, and then one just recently in May, and they're targeting their first beta release in July. So that's big because once you get to beta, you can start being a bit more confident that there's not going to be breaking changes. And you can be a bit more confident that if there are breaking changes, there might be an upgrade path or a way to fix what you have. And then later this year, right before Vienna, the team is targeting a 1.0 stable release.
Prague. Prague.
What?
Prague.
Oh.
Prague.
Not Vienna.
Not Vienna.
Prague. Yes, sorry. So right before, pretty sure it's Vienna. Anyways, Prague. Yeah.
It is Vienna.
Yeah, it's Vienna. Anyways, before DrupalCon Europe, they are targeting a 1.0 stable release, which is only like 18 months after it was announced in Portland last year, which is absolutely crazy. So you'll see that like this 1.0 stable release is not going to have everything you can possibly imagine, but it is going to be enough to be like a production site and be worthy of actually using on your site. And then after that, like once 1.0 is released, that's not the end of Experience Builder. That's not the end of adding features. There is a whole roadmap for new features and things to add on after 1.0, but that is still being prioritized as of Valori when I asked him last week. So the future, as far as what's coming when, is unknown, but there's a lot of plans for what to add after 1.0. So what will be in 1.0? This is a big deal. What will be there when it is stable and ready for production sites? And this is where if you aren't super familiar with Experience Builder or don't have a lot of background, this might be a bit confusing, but I'll try to explain some of it. A lot of these are worthy of their own hour-long session in themselves, so we're going to kind of speed through them. Static and dynamic field mappings. So basically, you'll be able to create components with fields, or you'll be able to map content fields to component fields. Full WYSIWYG support for CK Editor when you're authoring pages. Media browser support, so you'll be able to use Drupal Media in Experience Builder. Block support, so you'll be able to use your existing blocks in Experience Builder. SDC and code components. That is worth clarifying. SDC is Drupal's single directory components, which was introduced to core in 11.0 and merged in 2 years ago, year and a half ago, something like that. And that is all twig based, all in your theme or modules, etc. So you might think that's a code component, but it's not. A code component is actually a JavaScript component created in the browser. So Experience Builder ships with a JavaScript component editor in the browser, and that is what is called a code component. So you'll be able to create new Experience Builder components without actually committing any code. The page builder, so you'll be able to create a whole page with Experience Builder, kind of important. There will be revision support. There will be region layout support, so you'll be able to edit and lay out both your header and your footer, so you'll be able to make global site-wide changes with Experience Builder, not just page-by-page changes. There will be content templates, so think view modes. You'll be able to take a view mode and create a template for it for Experience Builder and say, render this view mode as this Experience Builder template, and you'll be able to map the fields from the content to the Experience Builder components and then render them all out. And due to some internal funding, there will be a personalization engine for 1.0 too. And that is essentially, you can think of conditional display of components, right? So there'll be some amount of logic you can do to say, render this component given these set of parameters, or don't render it, etc. So that is a very long list of things for 1.0, and you can see like it's very broad, so this should apply and like be useful to most sites that exist. But it won't have everything. So the things that are not going to make it for 1.0 but are definitely on the roadmap, a big one is translations. So if you had a translated site, 1.0 will not be usable for you. Workspaces, I think a little bit less popular, but if you're using workspaces, there won't be support for that initially. No code components. So we talked about SDCs and we talked about code components. No code components are components that are created entirely through a graphical interface, entirely in the browser, right? So you can click things together, you can lay things out, you can style them, and you don't have to write any code at all. And this is one of the visions for Experience Builder, is that you'll be able to create a component without writing any code or almost no code. And that's kind of being called the browser-based component or theme designer. And that won't make it for 1.0. That's a lot of additional work, but it will be there eventually, hopefully, maybe, we'll see. And then another big one is slot restrictions. So if you're using Layout Builder, you can think Layout Builder restrictions, the ability to kind of limit what goes where on the page, is being worked on, or there's a plan for it, but won't make 1.0 as of right now. And a lot of this is flexible. I think translations and workspaces have been cut. Well, translations, workspaces, and no code have definitely not making 1.0. Slot restrictions, maybe, but Lori didn't want to commit to it. All right, time for some nerd stuff. So just kind of going through the big architecture things. Once again, each one of these could be an hour-long presentation in itself. But the big things to know is that Experience Builder does not leverage Layout Builder or paragraphs. It just is a brand new concept, brand new stuff. It doesn't build on top of Layout Builder, it doesn't build on top of paragraphs. It's all brand new, even though it has similar concepts and similar ideas and like similar experiences for authoring. We're not leveraging anything from any of those ecosystems. So part of that is a new page content. I want to say content type, but it's just new page content. It's not a node, it's not really a content type, it's just kind of its own thing that sits there and renders a page in Drupal, but it is not a content type. And the page builder is built with React for the front end. So we're going to have React in Drupal's admin interface. Each component instance in Experience Builder is stored in the database as its own row in the Experience Builder table. So that'll be a big change between Layout Builder or paragraphs, where we have our normalized or denormalized, whichever one it is, database structures, or serialized PHP arrays like with Layout Builder. Fields from entities can be mapped to matching STC schemas. So this is a Whim special. And this is basically, if you have a component, and let's say you have a button component, right? And in that button component, you have a label field and you have a link field. Then you can say, if I have a link field on a node, which also has a label value and a link value, then you can say, in Experience Builder, I want to use these two field values from the content type in this component, because using config validation and schema and all that, we can be confident that those two types match. So there will be an interface to essentially map fields to component fields, or content fields to component fields. Code components, so the components created in the browser, but with code. The JavaScript components, you could also call them, are written in React, JSX, Tailwind, CSS. So they're not using Twig or anything like that. It's all pretty modern React JavaScript components. And to get those on the page, the code component editor, which creates the JavaScript code components, leverages Astro Islands for rendering, which should help with some of the performance considerations with React and putting a bunch of them on the page. That is a very brief overview of some of the fun architecture pieces. There's some really good documentation. The team has done a really good job of kind of documenting their thoughts and the overall architecture of Experience Builder in the repository. So I would highly encourage you, if any of this seems interesting or confusing or concerning, to go read the docs in the Git repo. Migration path. So this being a new thing and not really building on top of anything else, what do we need to do about adding it to a new site? Because we probably need to, migrate or upgrade. And the plan for this right now is for not to be a blocker for 1.0. So given that Experience Builder is new and it's not going to be required, it's not considered a blocker for actually releasing 1.0. But there is an intention and a plan that there should be an upgrade or a migration path for existing sites that are using Layout Builder or Paragraphs right now to get onto Experience Builder so they can fully transition. And initially, Layout Builder will be the first supported one. It is actively being worked on. It is kind of the closest to what Experience Builder actually is. So it should be the simplest. Paragraphs will likely follow, but it's a little bit more complex. The data model doesn't match up as nicely. There's a little bit more complexity to the Paragraphs data model that needs to be figured out. And the goal for the team right now is eventually to allow migrating individual pieces of content to Experience Builder instead of having to do a big bang migration where you migrate all of your content at once. The goal is to kind of be able to do it piece by piece and have things live side by side. We'll see if that actually shakes out, but that is an ambition right now. And then most importantly, Experience Builder is not all or nothing. So there's definitely the intention and the ability to install Experience Builder on an existing site that's using Layout Builder or Paragraphs or what have you, and you'll be able to use both of them at the same time, and they shouldn't overlap or collide or really cause any issues. You'll just, Experience Builder pages will be Experience Builder pages, Layout Builder pages will be Layout Builder pages. What should you be doing right now? So we can't use Experience Builder yet, but you can start preparing for it if you're building new sites or maintaining existing sites. The things you can be doing right now to get ready for Experience Builder when it is eventually ready: implement component-based designs. So if your designers are still giving you page designs, tell them that's bad and that they should be building components. And if they don't do that, you should break out their pages to components anyways, because components are way better than pages. Write good SDCs. So for me personally, all of the client work that I do, even if their sites are using Layout Builder or Paragraphs or something else, all of the new templates I'm creating in their theme are single directory components now. And then I wire them all up to whatever is existing on the site, but everything for me is a single directory component. That is what Experience Builder will be based on as far as what is in the theme. So if you have the opportunity for existing sites or new site builds, just build good single directory components and you'll be in a really good spot for Experience Builder. Use Layout Builder and blocks. Like I said, that data model kind of matches the closest to actually what Experience Builder is. So the migration path will probably be the easiest or the most well supported, etc. So if that is an option, that is the way to go. And if that's what you're doing right now, you might be in a pretty good spot, except for this next bullet, which is you need to avoid adding complexity to Layout Builder or Paragraphs via the contrib modules. So there's a whole hundreds of Layout Builder ecosystem of contrib modules, and most of that functionality might be similar in Experience Builder, but there might not be a migration path, or there might not be functionality matching, feature parity. So the fewer contrib modules you can be using with Layout Builder or Paragraphs, the better, because that will make an upgrade to Experience Builder easier. And then try the Experience Builder beta and release candidates and provide feedback. So this is going to be really important, right? The beta is coming up in July, and they're releasing 1.0 in October sometime. So now is the time. There's a huge team working on Experience Builder. They're moving really fast. The Slack channel is really active. If you give it a try and you have a use case that you don't think is covered, it is worth providing the feedback. If you can't get something to work, also worth providing the feedback. the team is very receptive, and they want to launch something that people can use and covers your use cases or covers the majority of use cases as much as possible. There's also the Experience Builder channel in the Drupal Slack. And if you work for an agency, it's time to start building some proof of concepts, start understanding what Experience Builder is, and start understanding how it can fit into your pitches and your sales cycle, because it is actually a competitive page building experience compared to what we actually have now. So like when you look at Experience Builder, if you were in Theresa's session earlier, it looks nice, it feels nice, right? It feels modern. So if you're an agency, it's going to be a lot easier to sell, a lot easier to demo, and it's just going to be an overall great thing for Drupal when it comes to actually, getting sales and getting sites out the door. All right, so with all that said, this is where I'm starting. This is kind of what I'm looking for going forward. After 1.0 is released, I'm trying to find sites or opportunities that are like new brochure sites, right? They might not be really complex, but they need flexibility. They might not have a ton of components, but they have some components. So I'm looking for kind of those sites where I can build out components and build flexible pages, but there's not a huge backlog of structured content. There's not a lot of complex interactions between the components. That's kind of where I want to start with Experience Builder. Or I'm looking for an existing site that wants more flexibility. So I have a client right now that they're not really happy with the flexibility they have on their site authoring. But knowing that Experience Builder is coming down the pipe, I don't really want to commit to Layout Builder or paragraphs to improve their site. We'll probably try pretty soon after Experience Builder 1.0 to add some amount of flexibility and give them the control that they're looking for. What I'm avoiding, or what I'm trying not to have my first Experience Builder sites be, like multilingual. Like I said, there won't be translation, so that won't really be an option. Heavily structured content pages or sites, you're not really going to get the most out of Experience Builder with that, right? So like if you have a site that's like 10 content types and they're all very templated and there's not a lot of variation, why use Experience Builder, right? If they're, yes, you can do it for new sites, but why go back and change it for old sites? Sites using workspaces, once again, because it won't be supported. And then decoupled or headless sites, I'm not going to start with initially. I have ideas about this. There's a lot of really interesting ideas in my head, but it's not a core use case of Experience Builder, so I'm not going to try and work on it after 1.0. All right, that is everything. Right on time, too. Questions? Nick?
My biggest question one of the ideas behind it is you can kind of pull in components from multiple different places, right? So ideally you could start using like a React component for something, you just pull it in. Is there work being done to help mesh those things together in a way, like visual, like on the theme layer? Like if you're pulling React from here and they don't play super nicely with your own component.
All right, so the question is essentially, there's multiple different component sources, and is there any work or anything in place to make sure that the brand identity stays aligned?
Maybe not
the theme,
maybe functionality.
Yeah, functionality. I don't think so. I think that's on you. So yeah. Yes.
So I'm a big workspaces guy.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it work? Because I'm pretty sure it would.
It's not that it won't work, it's that it's not going to work for 1.0. So they've done a lot of work with workspaces, and I don't know the exact details. There's issues for it. They just decided it doesn't need to be in the initial release.
It's like it is like revision, right? So like
Yeah. So there's two types of revisions. There's kind of like as you're editing, it does revisions on the page, and then you save those.
Yeah.
And then there's also just revision like you'd expect. So like when you save it, there's a revision created.
That's right. So it kind of has that like sub revisioning or like that stuff probably wouldn't be compatible. But like the actual like when you write that new, I guess the content entity revision, like that part I think would work with workspaces.
Yeah. I just know that Lori said workspaces are out for 1.0.
Just not to look.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll write a model for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks.
Yes.
This sounds really similar to me to Acquia Site Studio.
Yes.
Is that a familiar comparison for you?
Yeah. So I've done a lot of Site Studio work. Acquia is doing a lot of the funding and development of Experience Builder. So they have a page, they have an explainer that they published a little while ago. And what I took away from it is that eventually Site Studio will be built on top of Experience Builder. And the Site Studio product will be Experience Builder Acquia Plus. So they'll have some of their own special secret sauce or additions to Experience Builder. So that's my understanding. But yeah.
Site Studio also has issues right now with workspaces and translations. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask about translation.
And there's actually a lot of the team that originally built Site Studio or maintained Site Studio recently is now working on Experience Builder.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.